Hi.
Give me your top 10 games of 2016.
I actually, and this is, of course, there's no objectivity in this kind of thing. It's only subjective. I stand by that. I think for Greg Miller, it was an all right year in games. My top 10 list wasn't hard to assemble. I have a bunch of honorable mentions, that things I put on the list that I liked a lot, but I don't think were really in contention. And I think even when I would say even like my 9 and 10 are games that are in there that deserve to be in there, but even then it's like not reaching, but like this is why, but this is also my, you know what I mean, kind of thing. Honorable mentions, Virginia is the first one on my list. I enjoyed Virginia. It's super different. It is interesting. I do like the idea of not a fucking word in that game. You have to put it all together yourself. It's one that I think what you guys have been talking about, hooks in you the more you think of it. I remember beating it, enjoying it, and being like, all right, moving on or whatever. And it's now one of those ones where I'm like, I want to go back. I mean, not only for the platinum because it's easy, just to go back and see the different permutations of it. The collectibles I did miss, the little nods I did miss. I keep thinking about that game. I can't stop thinking about that game. But in the end, I like these other games more. I put Volume on there. Technically a 2015 game. Came to Vita this year, though. That's where I played it. I was happy to finally get it on there. Of course, full disclosure, Mike Bithlow is somebody who sponsored the Gamescast at one point through Patreon. That doesn't mean anything to us, but just so you know, Volume is a lot of fun. It's one of those that I'm super, super actually anxious for my flight on Saturday to get back and play more of it. It is a game that I'd like to eventually chip away at in Platinum on Vita. I put Rise of the Tomb Raider on there, right? It was on my list for Xbox One last year for top 10. Now that it's on PlayStation 4, now that it is the definitive edition, awesome, 20-year celebration is what they call it. But what I go back to on that game all the time, right, is how much love and care Crystal Dynamics put into it. Definitive editions can be Game of the Year editions. You can put these things out with just the DLC and call it a day. The fact that they went in there and put in Croft Manor, let you play it in third person or in PlayStation VR is awesome. The fact that they made Croft Manor and then we're like, all right, cool, let's make the Lara's Nightmare, give you a little survival thing to run through and do all this stuff. Those are nice touches, let alone the fact that all the DLCs in there, you got the co-op online endurance mode now. They did stuff to that game, and the game was already fantastic, and that was the problem last year. I remember being like, everyone should play this, and I understand you want to wait till PS4, and like even me, where I was like, I almost stopped playing the Xbox One version, because I was like, I'd love to platinum this, and I know that'll probably never happen if I play it on Xbox One. And to this day, I started it, and I enjoy it, and I really do like it, and I want to get back, but so many other things are tugging on me, moving me in different directions. But crafting, exploration, crofting, cute. That's a good one, you son of a bitch. Going through and making your character better and making these different weapons. I'm like, Rise of Tomb Raider is fantastic. I put on here Valkyria Chronicles, the collection or remaster came out this year. Valkyria Chronicles is awesome. Everybody should play it. Pokemon Go I put on here. It is totally an experience. It's something that I'll never... In all of my days, I won't forget when that game came out and everybody getting crazy about it and listening to Kevin get crazy about it with you, and then walking to the store and hearing people and watching people in my neighborhood, which is not the techie video game neighborhood, playing it and doing it, and then coming back from a bar one night and kids across the street were yelling at each other because they were outside taking over a gym in my neighborhood. And it was like, wow, that's fucking crazy, let alone Grimecraft, throwing DJ parties and everybody's dropping lures and then promoting it that way. Come here. The bar in my neighborhood being like, no Pokemon here, when they are a Pokestop, and they're like doing all this dumb shit. Yeah. And the stories you'd hear of people at 4 a.m. walking through the park and being scared of somebody and then them telling them where a Charizard was, or them talking about it and having these conversations, and cops coming together in a time when we needed like good cop role models and downloading it when they're talking to kids. And, it's like... what you said. It was a fucking movement. It was a thing. It was a cultural phenomenon. And so, was it a great game? Whatever. I don't know. I'm not. I'm glad I didn't have to review it. But in terms of what it did and how, even me, I played for a while and I'm like, this is fun. This is cool. And it's a little time waster and it's enjoyable. But it was more than that, which is so hard to believe, as everyone was caught and swept up in it. Even last week, me and Sean Finninger are working on a project, and we were like location scouting, and we went on top of this like kind of touristy mountain in San Francisco. And we went up, and there was this like family, and this like old dad was just like, oh, I heard there's a lot of Diglets up here. Yeah.
And I'm like, that was so obviously like this group of people. I was like, you're so late to this, but it's so funny that there's some Diglets.
Well, that was I remember going to a brunch with a couple developer friends, and we had our dogs and we were sitting outside, and like sure as shit there was just like this constant line of like ants, but it was people going off over to this like part of the park and then coming back, and they were all just going there to collect whatever random thing.
It's a fucking Dragonair.
Exactly. Yeah. People were all over it. All right, so here's my top 10. Ranked 10 to my favorite game of the year. Number 10, The Division. Division is an interesting one because I think the narrative flipped on it, as they do often, where if you would have asked me throughout this year about the Division, I probably would have been like, yeah, I was having a great time until I hit the level cap and then we had to do it. Because there was a day where, I mean, why I love it and why, like, reflecting on it and why I want to get back into it now that the patch has supposedly made things better is, like, Fran and I were on the Division every night for quite a while, with Tyroot joining in and having random people, come in and go. And it was one of those things of, for me, as a non-multiplayer gamer, somebody who loves single player, who loves story-driven games, like, that's still a rarity for me to find a multiplayer game I love and have, like, standing dates. And I'm, I have the headset on and I'm doing it for hours just talking to Fran about bullshit, right? Or he's streaming it and we're clowning around with the chat. And the problem was that I worked so hard to beat the story part of it and, hit level 30 or whatever it was and start, really getting into the dark zone and getting crazy. And then it was that we did it. And then that first night it was like, all right, let's do something crazy, in the end game stuff. And it was like, all right, cool. We ran this mission and it was really tough and we got it and then great. And like, all right, let's do it again. And I was like, oh no. And I was like, I did it. And then I signed off. And the next day I signed on. It was a Saturday and I signed on and Ty was on. I joined up with Tom. I'm like, hey man, what's up? He's like, nothing. I've been running this one mission for 6 hours to grind out all this stuff. And I did it for like an hour. Fran joined and we played a little bit. And then I was just like, I'm going to go, guys. Like, this isn't what I want. Like, because I've done it. I've done the DC Universe Online where, man, that next armor tier is this many marks away. And I do the math and I'm like, that is 15 hours of playing all of these same things and using replay tokens and doing it. And I'm like, that is not what I'm about. And that is not what I want to do. And so that became the narrative, right? In a similar way to Inside, which is going to show up on my list. Like in our review, I came in and I was really down on it when we started, but then it was just the ending that I didn't like. It was like the gameplay is superb and everything's amazing. And I was like, oh, fuck, right. No, I really like this game actually, but I'm just caught up on that last taste. And so taking that away and thinking back to how much I played that game nonstop and would be going back to HQ to get my drops, to get into the the little coolers you have that give you the extra items, to go buy new clothes, then to sit there and mix and match the outfits and stuff. Like, it was a game that fashion over function was awesome. Yeah. Now, let alone the fact that it was mashing up something I liked so much, whereas like Destiny's great for first-person shooter people, but I'm third-person action adventure, right? And this was a third-person game of running on and seeing my gun and having my backpack on, having my different outfits and hats on. And that gameplay in general was so good, I thought, of, cover base, shoot up against the wall, come out, shoot everything. It's why I'm excited about Ghost Recon Wildlands, right? It's a similar thing of like a 4-man team going in and doing these things, but it was that of, okay, I can play for a little bit on my own, go and do this. I can go, Fran's not on yet. I'm just going to spend hours going around collecting the audio diaries and all the other different cell phones and shit like that. And going through and systematically cleaning out those portions of the city and knowing like, this is what I want. And then like, that game was awesome. And it is that thing, Fran and I were just talking about it at a holiday party recently. Like, we got to get the band back together and we got to go back in there. And it was PSX. Like, yeah, Scott Lowe's in. We're talking to him. He's like, yeah. And it's like, I want to do that. I'm anxious to do that again. And I think maybe in the new year when we come back and it's like, I've played everything I need to catch up on, that'll be the time to jump in before it gets crazy again. Mm-hmm. But the Division was something super special to me. And I do love it, even though the ending got weird there. And then there was problems until this patch. So it's on there. Number 9. I would have never in a million years put this on there. There's going to be plenty of disclaimers for you. Sparkade.
Oh.
Sparkade, a mobile game, number 1. Of course, Sparkade, Colin and I hosted an event for them, but you've seen Greg Canessa on this show, and that was before the deal, and you saw me legitimately talking about how much I loved this game. I'm level 22 in Sparkade. Like, the hours I've put into Sparkade of only playing Tetris, and that's why this is a cheat in terms of a spot. I'm only playing Tetris. Everyone loves Tetris. Tetris is awesome, but it's the fact that Sparkade did something interesting and different in it where, Greg Canessa, and I think it played to the audience because everybody loved that Gamescast. But when he's on here and he talks all the time that like, I'm a hardcore gamer, and he's like, yeah, mobile sucks. It is a race to the bottom, and there's all this different shit. We wanted to make an app or a mobile game that was for hardcore gamers, and they did it. And that sounds so markety jargony to say, but it is that thing of like, okay, cool. I jumped in and I put $10 into it because I wanted to see how it was always going to work, right? But I think right now I'm at something like $23. I think the highest I've ever had in my bank is $36, and I've never put another dollar back into it. Now, all that aside, I think for me, it is super interesting to be like, I love Tetris. I want to play people for money in Tetris. I want to bet people in Tetris. I love for us having a community. It's awesome to have friends of the community friend request me there, actually go out and challenge me, whether it's for, the free money tokens that they give you or real money. But then on top of that, the upgrade system, I'm unlocking these new badges and I'm getting these new items and I'm going through and this gives me this bonus. Like there's multipliers to how many blue coins you're going to get every day, which is what you can spend if you don't want to spend real money. You don't have to put $1 into the thing. It's really well done. And I felt like a crazy person for a while until I look on the other side of Twitter and I see Ryan McCaffrey still obsessed with Wheel of Fortune, still going through. Like there's something to this and it is really, really well done. And I don't, it's something I never say as somebody who never plays mobile games, let alone gets caught up and would put one on his top 10 list. Like Sparkade caught me off guard and it delivers on a promise that I think is really cool and really awesome, especially for somebody who has a community and does want to engage with them. But like, again, I struggle with multiplayer games, but I can give you a 3-minute match of Tetris and do whatever the fuck.
I'll play some Tetris.
Yeah, I'll steal your money, Joey Noel. Number 8 is Inside. Again, like I touched on there, everything you guys have said is true about it. For me, the ending still is just like, oh, that was just like a letdown to it of like, I was with you. Where's this going? What is it doing? Oh, okay. Like, but all of that fucking aside, the game's fucking beautiful, right? We always talk about, how great in terms of game design and teaching you mechanics Mario is. If you get and you try to run backwards, nope, you can't run backwards. There's no giant thing screaming this at you. You go forward, you touch the first mushroom guy who has a name that I can never remember. Goomba, whatever. Let me tell you about Sonic.
You can't remember no Goomba?
I'm a fucking Sega kid. I didn't play my first Mario forever. What are you talking about?
I don't know, man.
It kills you. All right, cool. You got to jump on it. That's great. Inside did that all the time, where they introduced new mechanics. The first dog that chases you, and you're like, oh, fuck, and you get away from it right at last. But it's like timed out perfectly, so you get away. And it's like, okay, now I understand that the dogs are bad, and this is what's going to happen. But the way they play with light, the way it's visual, the puzzles, this is the whole thing of like, I hate puzzly games like this. Limbo is a game that I did at times feel like I was ramming my head against a wall. This one, it didn't happen. I think I was stopped for like 5 or 10 minutes on the one where it was like, how the fuck do I go underwater and get the door up but not get killed by that? You know what I mean? Like, and then you figure out to go back. It's like, oh, I felt like I was being rewarded and I was learning as I went and I was having fun. And so like Inside was great from gameplay and from setting and from presentation. And for me, it was just like, oh, the story didn't pay off for me in the end. Number 7 is Ratchet and Clank. Again, Ratchet and Clank, phenomenal. It was one of those you guys were both telling me I needed to play it, and I was like, I want to be in the mood. I want to be in the mood. I want to be in the mood. And there was a Sunday I woke up and put it in, and I was in the mood, and it delivered on everything I wanted. It was awesome. It was fun. It was funny. It was beautiful. The one thing I liked the most about it was, we talk about all the time with Ubisoft games where I'm a checkbox guy and I like to have all the missions. I loved the fact that they had different side ops to go do on the planet, but they were all totally achievable and pretty much achievable right then. I didn't feel like, all right, cool, I'll come back to this in 30 hours when I've more, okay, I'm going to sit here and clear this planet. And I do everything on the planet. I'm like, all right, great, back in the spaceship. Let's take off and go and see what the next story mission is, let alone what all the other stuff to do. And that's why I love it. And it's another one that's at the top of the list right now for me to get in and just finish off, because I didn't finish it off. It's a game I'd like to platinum, and I actually think I'll get back to do it. Number 6, I put Batman the Telltale series. We just reviewed it 2 episodes ago on the Kind of Funny Gamescast. Again, yeah, there's technical problems. They really reared their ugly head for me in episode 5. Hopefully they've been patched by the time everybody hears this. But being a Batman fan, being a comic book fan, the liberties they take with the story, the way they make it their own, and the way they let you be the Batman or Bruce Wayne you want to be is really awesome. Because what's always worked with Walking Dead in particular, I wasn't a Wolf Among Us fan. I don't think it was really like this in Tales from the Borderlands. I didn't play Game of Thrones because I don't care about Game of Thrones. Walking Dead was, hey, what are you shaking your head at?
Game of Thrones.
Did you play it?
Yeah, I played episode 1.
Yeah, okay.
It was fine.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't like Game of Thrones, though.
Yeah, I'm not like super into it. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Walking Dead, you'd have, hell, me and Mitch had a show on IGN about it where like, what did you do? Oh my goodness, that's very interesting, blah, 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 blah. But like, I don't think it was like, we would talk about being Lee or being Clem and being like, oh, I'm playing Clem as such a bitch this time and she's doing this and that and she's not taking shit from anybody. That was fine, but like, all the answers sounded like they could be Clem. Whereas for me, I play Batman, the Telltale series, and I'm very clearly playing my Batman. And Batman to me is the stand-up guy who's going to be mean to crooks, but not really hurt, not really kill them, not break their arms and shit, and still like go above and beyond. Like, oh, I don't want to spoil it. We should have talked about this. I would have loved to have known how you handled one of the decisions. Shit, I should ask you. He'll give himself up, right? But Batman's Batman and the mask is Bruce Wayne. Like Batman is always Batman. Bruce Wayne's this thing he puts on and does all these different things. And then talking to Troy Baker or whatever when we went and did the show, and some of the developers and other people who just played it, where they're like, "Oh my God, no way! You kidding me? I am Bruce Wayne and I'm thinking this way through, and my Batman's really vengeful and he's going to be violent. He's going to do this." Whereas I'm like, I'm turning in things right away to the people who could be I shouldn't do that to probably and play that different way. There's so many different ways, but it honestly comes off as like a different core character, whereas like Clem always felt like Clem, and your decisions were different, but not like this, where I feel like I'm really taking the world in a different direction. And like, Colin and I talked about in the review of like the way we played a certain character meant that we never saw him as this other thing, and that was interesting. That's awesome. I can't wait to see if they do more of that in season 2. Number 5. This is one that's all I think a crazy choice based on how everybody always talks. Song of the Deep. Song of the Deep is the Game Trust game, the GameStop deal that Insomniac did. Metroidvania, incredibly cute little one. You're Marin. You're going to get in your little ship and go underwater and try to save your father who's been taken. For me, and this is a weird one, stick with me, it's in the same bucket, if not like a spiritual successor, if it makes it easier, sequel to The Unfinished Swan. When I reviewed The Unfinished Swan, I remember talking about it in flowery language of it being like it was like a cup of cocoa and a blanket on a really cold day when you're homesick or something like that. This was like, that's how this game felt from the get-go. And there's another one I had to be in the mood for it, and I clicked it on, and the soundtrack is beautiful. The narrator's voice and narration is beautiful. And the cutscenes being a storybook are beautiful. The art of the game itself is beautiful, and it totally was that thing of like wrapping me up in a giant blanket. And I feel like it was criminally underplayed. I don't know. I don't know its Metacritic off top. I think it got like 7s and mid 7s somewhere in there. I don't know if I would have necessarily gone much higher than that. I'm not saying this game would have been a 9 if I was reviewing it, but in terms of emotional impact, in terms of I love the idea of Metroidvanias, but I feel like a lot of them annoy me at some point when I can't get someone. I'm just whatever, blah, blah, blah. That didn't happen here. This one was okay, cool. Oh shit, I've got this light, which means I can scare. Okay. Fuck the real story. I'm just going to go tool around and find all those different things. And it was one of those where the map was super, it pulled you in. You saw all the things you needed. You knew where you could go. Not enough fast travel points for my taste. And I think the game might have stayed around a little bit too long in terms of like hour length, but it was great. Should have had a platinum. I don't know who the fuck's giving you such bad information, Insomniac, that you couldn't put a platinum in this. But Song of the Deep was something special. And maybe it was just special to me and some other certain people, but like it resonated to the point of like, I went out of my way to send thank you notes to the people who worked on this game, Insomniac, and all these different people, because I didn't feel people were talking about it, and so like they sent like the Funko Pop Marin that's on my desk and all this stuff, and like stickers that I put on my computer, because like for real, this is a standout character to me and a standout like story, and the collector's edition came with a hardcover written book, right? And I'm holding on to that to one day read it to my child. Like I think like it's that cool. It's like
want
that
children
cool.
now?
We talked about this before. It's a thing of what's going on here. Number 4, Watch Dogs 2. Watch Dogs 2. Watch Dogs 1. I was like, okay, popped it in. No, this doesn't work for me. Your Chicago doesn't look and feel right. Why is this guy such a fucking emo villain or an emo hero, I guess? He's so grumpy to go be out doing cool superhero stuff. Aiden, get out of here. And then Watch Dogs 2 was constantly that game where we'd be like, man, yeah, the fall's got so many great games, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. What else? Oh, yeah. And somebody would eventually be like, oh, Watch Dogs 2. And it was that thing for a while where we were like, I don't know what's happening with that game. We haven't seen it. I don't know what's going on with it. And then we went and played it at Ubisoft for that thing. And it was like, oh, gameplay is cool here, but like, I don't know how I'm going to feel about everything else around it. But that was the first time where I was interested and I thought it looked cool, because the E3 demo, where Marcus, they do the whole thing where you meet Wrench for the first time, and then we do as fans watching an E3 demo, and then Marcus goes in and he takes over the politician's campaign and stuff. He's in there and he's blowing people away and he's using robots, and you're like, what the fuck is okay? That's again, tonally, this isn't matching up with what's going on. When I got my hands on the game and discovered that like, oh, I can play this game and in pretty much in terms of the single player story, never fire a weapon if I don't want to. That's fucking crazy. And that wasn't drawn up. And so for me, it was a game where here's the skeleton of the story. You're DedSec. You're this hacker. You're in San Francisco. It's bright and it's colorful and it's fun. And we're going to give you fun missions and fun characters to be around. This isn't going to be the doom and gloom Aiden Pierce story again. I was like, that's really cool. And when it was holy shit, these people actually are people we know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of like when they were like, come watch this trailer, and they're like, oh yeah, no, we got to do it this way, and we got to put it up here and get surround sound. And I was like, fuck, that's Tim. Like these people, and I was like, that's cool. They're contemporaries and peers. And so then when they start like, all right, go infiltrate this place, it was never, all right, I'm gonna go in and infiltrate with my fucking AK and blow everybody away and make a giant scene. It was, I walked up to all these places, sat down Indian style, dropped my RC car and drove it in there and hacked the shit out of it. And then like slowly upgraded all those different abilities to the point of like, I was talking to a friend online who was playing and he was like, oh yeah, we were in a party chat on PS4 and he's like, you know, me and the other guy are playing, and we've made up our own narrative that the bullets we shoot are rubber bullets, and that's why like he's doing this, and it doesn't break down the narrative because it does not make any sense. Of like we're dead set, and we're looking out for the little guy, and we're gonna fucking murder everybody. You know what I mean? And I was like, whoa, you guys are firing guns? Like I don't do that. I use the stun gun, but I never ever go out and actually like get into real combat. And that was another one of those where it's like, oh shit, like. I'm having fun doing the hacking, which was my biggest concern going into that game because I didn't enjoy it in Watch Dogs 1. Getting in there, enjoying it, taking over the city, feeling powerful, using the upgrade trees, it was great. Co-op was whatever. The online trophies suck. Like, it's another game of like, just don't do that. Like, I platinumed Watch Dogs 2 and enjoyed every fucking minute of it, except the, now go kill 5 guys in bounty mode. It's like, oh my God, like, just don't fucking force me to do this shit because this game's great without it and I don't need that. But fun things, again, it was another one where I'd go in and change my outfit and look goofy and be crazy and have fun with that. Fun stuff. Number 3, Severed. PlayStation Vita's best game of the year for sure. Amazing. I won't beat a dead horse. You've talked about it at length. We did our Vita game top 10. We talk about it in there. The one thing that I want to call out again is similar to what I was talking about with Song of the Deep, where I felt rewarded when I was playing that because I'd see things on the map or I'd see things on the wall and be like, ooh, I don't have a mouth power up, but when I do, I'm going to come back and get that. And whenever I got the next power up, it was, all right, cool. The mission's over there. I'm going over here and I'm clearing out every avenue, killing every enemy, tapping for every gem, getting everything I can do here. Story wise, that wasn't why I was playing it, but it was there in terms of, I want to know what happened to the family and where we go from here. But beautiful game. Again, similar to the Sparkade thing, like, I'm not a mobile gamer. I'm not a touch gamer, but the touch in that for some reason did work. I always said that from previews, even at PAXs before. Like, all right, this makes sense to me, and I understand why I'm doing it and why I like doing it. Enjoyed the game. Great stuff. Everybody should play it. Good platinum. Number 2 for me, Overcooked. Overcooked is one of those games that I remember hearing about, and I remember when we read it on the drop, or there was going to be, or, you know, the list by the editors, and when it was coming, and I was like, okay, cool. And then getting it, and then I think Poe came that weekend, and him and I sitting there and playing it, and like going from, oh, this is some weird cooking game to, all right, fuck, I need tomatoes, you work the tomatoes, I'll work the mushrooms, fuck, you know what I mean? And going, and like then months later, taking my PlayStation 4 save to his house and in Illinois and beating it and staying up to like whatever it was in the morning, like, you know, 12:30, not late, but I was tired, and beating the final boss and doing that. And then me and Colin playing through all the DLC and getting the last of the trophies. Another game that should have had a platinum. Your DLC should have fucking trophies too. I digress. It was great, and it was local co-op, and it was awesome, and it's something really special. You know, the music's great, the art's great, unlocking characters is great. Overcooked's fantastic. Everybody should play it. And then number 1, Uncharted 4. A Thief's End. I think about it often. It sticks with me. I don't share the complaints necessarily that Colin did. I like Nadine. I'm super excited to get more from her in the single player. But mainly it gave me what I wanted of that game and what I love of it in Nate and Elena and their evolving relationship. And I felt like this is the storyline where they laid everything out and we got answers and we got what we wanted. And I'll never forget, you know, when Nate and Elena I'm not going to spoil, but Nate and Elena are going up and they're talking and they're like, you know what, this can wait for another time. And I was like, motherfucker. And then, because that's what they do in every game, right? They never ever address their problems. They just are happy at the end and then it's credits. And then like 2 minutes later, they're like, you know what, no, it can't wait. And they started talking, I'm like, fuck yes, go fucking deliver on what you guys are and what this game is, let alone that it's beautiful, that the gameplay is awesome, that I enjoyed all of it. You know, I enjoyed all the aspects of it. I thought the acting was on another level. The directing was on another level. Like the whole scene of Nate and Elena walking around the pirates table and Nate like picking up the cup and reenact. And I was like, fuck, this is awesome. And the villains were cool and the world was cool. And it was so fleshed out that it was the perfect end cap. You know what I mean? The Thief's End. They had said forever it was going to be our final Nate Drake story. And it was great. And the epilogue is amazing and is awesome and gives you all the context you need to walk away from that world, I feel. And I felt satisfied. I was happy.
And Easter egg of the year.
Yeah. Caught everybody off guard.